The sun had barely risen over the hills when the sound of drums drifted across the small riverside village of Agolo. The drum was not simply music, it was the heartbeat of the land. Its rhythms summoned farmers to their fields, children to games along the dusty paths, and elders to counsel beneath the shade of the great Iroko tree. Behind the drum stood Elder Okoro, the village's master drummer, whose hands spoke the language of the earth and sky. When his palms struck hide and wood, the entire village listened, for his rhythms carried truth and authority. Beside him lived his only daughter, Mmasinachi. Her beauty stood apart from all the maidens of Agolo, not only because her skin gleamed like polished bronze or because her hair shone black as midnight, but because she carried herself with grace and light. Her laughter was clear as a flute, her smile gentle yet disarming, and when she danced to her father's drum, she seemed to command both earth and wind. Men whispered that she was not merely beautiful, but divinely blessed, a maiden whose presence made other girls fade like stars at sunrise. Many suitors came to Elder Okoro's compound. They brought baskets of kola nuts, strings of cowries, and goats tied by ropes. They promised wealth, land, and security. But Elder Okoro would only shake his head and say, "A daughter as precious as mine is not for the careless. She will marry the one whose heart beats true like the drum." Among the people of Agolo was a young farmer named Ikemefuna. His life was simple, built on the soil beneath his feet. His mornings began before the cocks crow, when he would take his hoe to the red earth, planting yams and tending to cassava, maize, and beans. Though not rich, his compound was never hungry, for his hands were strong and the earth seemed to favor him. Ikemefuna's pride was not in wealth, but in the fruits of his labor, and his heart, though quiet, carried fire. The first time he saw Mmasinachi was by the riverside. He had gone there to water his goats after a long day in the fields, and she had come with other maidens to wash clothes. The sun was dipping low, painting the river gold, and her laughter carried over the water like a song. He froze when he saw her. Mmasinachi, bending by the river, her hands dipping fabric in water, her face glowing with light. The other maidens were fair, but beside her they seemed like shadows cast by her radiance. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and Ikemefuna felt his heart leap. He lowered his gaze quickly, embarrassed, but she had already noticed the steadiness of his posture, the strength in his arms hardened by farming, and the quiet humility with which he stood apart from the boastful young men who crowded around her. That day, as she walked back from the river with her companions, her thoughts lingered on him. Ikemefuna too could not forget. Each time he passed the drummer's compound, carrying yams from his farm, his eyes would search for her, weaving mats in the courtyard or pounding pepper. He never spoke, but each time his heart thundered as though Elder Okoro himself were beating the drum inside his chest. But their unspoken bond soon came under threat. Obi, a man of great wealth and influence in Agolo, set his eyes on Mmasinachi. He was not a king, nor a titled chief, but his barns overflowed with yams, his servants were many, and his riches gave him power that few dared to challenge. Though his beard was gray and his body heavy with age, he believed no maiden could resist what his wealth could buy. One evening, before the village council, Obi announced, "This maiden, Mmasinachi, shall be mine. Who else in this village can care for her as I can? I will cover her in beads, adorn her with gold, and fill her father's compound with cattle." Elder Okoro bowed respectfully but replied with firmness, "Obi, wealth feeds the body but not the soul. My daughter's heart cannot be bought." Obi's face darkened like a gathering storm. "Then, let us see whose will is stronger, the drum or my riches." That night, Ikemefuna's silence could no longer bind him. His love had grown too large to keep hidden. With trembling steps, he went to Elder Okoro's hut, bowing low before the old man. "Baba Okoro, I come not as a farmer tonight, but as a man. My heart beats for your daughter. I seek her hand." Before Elder Okoro could respond, Mmasinachi herself stepped from the doorway. her gaze fixed on Ikemefuna, her voice calm but ringing like truth. Ikemefuna, your silence has spoken to me more than Obi's gold ever could have. Each time you passed our hut, I felt your heart calling. If your courage now matches your love, then know this, I will walk the path with you. Elder Okoro looked long upon them both. At last he said, your love is true, but Obi is not a man to cross lightly. If you choose this path, you choose struggle. Ikemefuna straightened, his farmer's shoulders broad, his eyes steady. A man who cannot fight for love has no blood in his veins. Tell me what I must do. The old drummer sighed. Long ago, when Agolo was founded, the spirits gave us a test of courage. Only he who slays the sacred leopard of Ajina forest may claim what is most precious. Bring me its skin, and the drum will sing your name. At dawn, Ikemefuna left his farm behind, kissed his mother goodbye, and entered the Ajina forest. Its shadows were deep, its trees old as time. For days he tracked the sacred leopard, his feet moving as carefully as when he tended tender yam shoots. The beast's eyes glowed like fireflies in the dark, its roar rolled like thunder across the woods. While he was gone, Mmasinachi's heart knew no rest. By day she went about her chores, but her hands trembled when she pounded yam or fetched water. At night she lay awake, listening to the distant cry of owls, her eyes wet with tears. She knew Ikemefuna's heart was strong, but he was no hunter. He was a farmer whose life was bound to the soil, not the dangers of the forest. The thought of him facing the sacred leopard alone made her blood run cold. On one night, she knelt before her father's drum, pressing her forehead to its smooth surface as though it were an altar. Spirits of Agolo, you who watch over this land, guide his steps. He is no hunter, yet his love is brave. Let his courage be his weapon. Bring him back to me. Her prayers rose like smoke into the night, and she wept until sleep took her. For 3 nights she did not sleep well, tossing on her mat, waking at every sound, imagining his blood on the forest floor. The maidens tried to comfort her, but her heart carried the weight of fear. Yet even in her worry, she held on to hope, whispering his name into the darkness as though her words could shield him. Ikemefuna, Ikemefuna. On the 4th day, her prayers were answered. Ikemefuna returned to Agolo, his clothes torn, his arm bandaged and bloody, but the sacred leopard skin across his shoulders. That night, Agolo shone like fire itself. Torches burned high, their flames licking the air, while the square filled with men, women, and children eager to witness the judgment of the spirits. The drums thundered in rhythms that echoed through marrow and bone. Their beats carried joy, tension, and mystery. Palm wine god after god passed through the crowd, and the air was thick with roasted yam and pepper soup. At the center stood Elder Okoro, his drum beside him. The great leopard skin lay stretched on a wooden frame, glistening in the firelight. Beside it stood Ikemefuna, weary from his ordeal, his arms still bound in cloth stained with blood. When the moment came, Elder Okoro's voice rolled out like the sound of the river. People of Agolo, tonight the spirits bear witness. My daughter's heart shall be given not to wealth, not to influence, but to the man who proved himself before gods and men. Behold, the farmer who slayed the sacred leopard. The crowd erupted in cheers. Mothers ululated, young men stamped their feet, maidens clapped and swayed. The sound rolled like thunder through the village. And through it all, Mmasinachi broke forward, her face wet with tears of relief, running into Ikemefuna's arms. But just as joy seemed to crown the night, Obi rose. His robe glittered with gold and cowries, reflecting the firelight like a serpent's scales. His voice cut through the celebration. Lies! He thundered, his words cracking the air. No farmer could slay the sacred leopard. He has deceived you all. That skin belongs to me, for my men brought the beast down. The square fell into uneasy murmurs. Children clutched their mothers, men shook their heads but said nothing, for Obi's wealth made him dangerous. The festival fire crackled, the drums stilled. But Mmasinachi, radiant even in defiance, stepped forward. Her chin lifted, her eyes aflame. Obi, a lie cannot wear a scar. I have seen Ikemefuna's wound, and I have seen his truth. Wealth may dazzle, but it cannot face the forest. Riches may buy cattle, but they cannot buy courage. The spirits do not feast on gold, they feast on bravery. Gasps spread. Ikemefuna then tore away his bandage, revealing the deep gash across his arm. The crowd recoiled, then surged with belief. Elder Okoro raised his drum and struck boom, 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 each beat reverberating like the voice of the ancestors. Silence fell like rain. The spirits bear witness, he declared. This man is true. The festival erupted again, louder than before. Songs rose, naming Ikemefuna in praise. Mothers lifted their children so they might remember this night. The young men danced around him, while maidens sang of Mmasinachi's faith. Obi's face twisted, his pride collapsing under the eyes of the people. He turned and slunk away into the shadows, his wealth powerless against the truth of courage. Ikemefuna turned to Mmasinachi, who clung to him as though her prayers had finally taken flesh. Her voice was soft but strong. You braved the forest for me, but I will brave the world with you. From this day, your courage is my crown, and my love is your shield. The people lifted them high. The drums shook the night sky, and for the first time, Ikemefuna and Mmasinachi stood together, not in secrecy or fear, but as one. And Elder Okoro, watching through tears, whispered words that would echo through Agolo for generations. The drum does not lie. Love belongs to the brave. And so, the farmer's courage silenced wealth. The maiden's faith conquered fear, and the drum of Agolo beat a story the ancestors themselves paused to hear. If this tale touched your heart, remember, the drum of love beats loudest for the brave.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.